All right, welcome back. The situation between Russia, Ukraine, and the West is rapidly escalating. Today, Russia warned the United States that continuing to arm and support Ukraine could lead to an all-out war. And Poland now wants American nukes on their soil to deter the Russians. They have a very small border with Russia to the north. Polish President Andrzej Duda says he's in talks with the United States to potentially allow NATO to put nuclear weapons right on Russia's doorstep. He didn't specify who he had talked to inside the U.S. government. The White House denies receiving a request, which, who knows? Even if it did happen, the White House would probably deny it because they don't want to escalate this thing if they don't have to. The U.S. and NATO have publicly stated they have no plan to deploy nuclear weapons in countries that joined the alliance after the collapse of communism more than 3 decades ago. So that would mean no nukes in Poland, but we'll see. Rick Grenell, former U.S. ambassador to Germany, joins me now. Good to see you, Rick. The Russians say arming Ukraine could lead to an all-out war with the West. What did you make of that?
Look, I'm going to speak as a diplomat, right?
Sure.
I'm somebody who really wants to concentrate on solutions outside of war. I think we've got a lot of U.S. officials, former U.S. officials, really talking about the war angle, and it's almost like that's the only angle. And I certainly appreciate that we have to have a military that's ready. But I think that this is a conversation that needs to be very private. We never talk about who has nuclear weapons or who hosts the nuclear umbrella that the United States has. This is something that we try to stay away from. We don't even confirm where our nuclear weaponry is. I will say this, though, that it seems brazen for Poland to step forward and say, we're in talks, we would like to have nuclear weapons. I don't blame them for wanting to be able to protect themselves. But what I'm really concerned about, Rob, is that we just don't have a diplomatic conversation going on. We don't see Anthony Blinken or Joe Biden talking about a peaceful solution or a deal. You know, the United Nations exists. Security Council exists so that we could have these discussions. Why not have a discussion? Why not try? I'm not suggesting that it's easy, nor am I suggesting that a peace deal would be easy or weak. And we've had some former U.S. officials really just disgustingly attack any conversation about a peace deal like it's just a weak option. It doesn't have to be weak if you have tough diplomats.
Yeah, no, and you know, that's a perfect segue into this because I've been wanting to ask you about this all week. This week, Elon Musk offered his proposal for peace as he's just trying to avoid a nuclear holocaust to come out of this thing. Musk suggesting a real election in the annexed regions under UN supervision, where Russia claims that 99% of people voted to rejoin Russia. He wants a real election there. He says Crimea would go back to Russia. A Ukrainian diplomat, we're talking about diplomacy, told Elon Musk, the guy that probably saved his country with that internet service in the beginning of the war, telling Elon Musk to F off. Andriy Milnik then tweeted, the only outcome is that now no Ukrainian will ever buy your effing Tesla crap. Good luck to you, Elon Musk. Musk replied he's just trying to prevent a nuclear war. What on earth does it help to tell probably the one singular person who's done the most to help in this war to F off if you're a Ukrainian diplomat?
Well, first of all, I have to tell you that I know Andriy Milnik, Ambassador Milnik. I know him very well. He is a good guy, and I have several books from Ukraine that he has signed for me. I have to say that he's passionate, and you know, he does not want to see a weak peace deal. So I'm applauding the fact that Ambassador Milnik does not want to see a weak peace deal. I get it. But we should also applaud Elon Musk for coming up with the first possible peace deal that we've seen from anyone. No one is talking about striking a deal. And we could talk about a stronger deal. There were some parts of Elon Musk's ideas that I think are too weak and that wouldn't go. But I applaud Elon Musk for trying. He's doing more than our Secretary of State. Exactly. We need to have diplomats that actually show up and give ideas. When you're sitting around a table, you want to have ideas. Look, I'm very concerned that all of Washington is doing is selling F-35s to the area. You got the Czech Republic that wants to buy F-35s. Poland does. Finland does. We need to also have an aggressive diplomatic push, and I don't see that. And thank God that Elon Musk is putting something out there. We should have that as a start and then toughen it up, and let's have a strong peace deal.
I agree. I think a lot of people feel like we're just blindly walking into a conflict, and I think that's just horrifying for everybody. And you're right. I mean, we have terrible foreign policy. We have a terrible State Department. We have all the wrong people at the helm as we just wander into this thing, and that's really scary. Rick, thank you so much. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Rob.